Kia ora and welcome to an Aotearoa Rugby Pod live once again. We've got these teams out, and boys, there's not a lot of surprises in there, really, are there? I mean, the teams are kind of stock standard on what we've seen this year, or at least over the last couple of years. So it's an interesting situation that we've got going on here, where as much of the interest in this, Chipper, is about what's being said by the coaches as it is in the selections.
Certainly is. They're both they're working the room very well in different styles. Like Dave Rennie, obviously non-emotive. Rusty's very fixated on, I suppose, the up tempo play, and he's heard the noise. And I think if you look at the way he selected the Springboks, and I think a big reason why I see Kolisi's not there is I think they're going to bring fire with fire. I think they're going to try and run. And I think Williams is a key selection in that as well, Brenner. Like if you look at it, I did a little bit of research before. He's got a plus 15 points differential when he starts at 9. Sasha, when he starts, is like plus 29. I know we did some work on him earlier and it was like 19 points, I think, across his career, but plus 29. You look at, I suppose, with those two and the Khaleesi omission, like speaking with everyone that's South African up here in Little Bloemfontein, they were like, there is just no way Sia Khaleesi is not getting named. So I get the feeling, although we've talked a lot about the box kick and going from set piece to set piece, I think we could be in for a doozy. I think we're looking at like a 39-36. Not
Wow.
some tight derby. I think there's going to be a lot of players out on their feet, both sides.
What do you think, Brenna?
No, look, I agree. I think if you do look at Ellis Park in terms of what the conditions are going to be like, like you'd like to think, probably haven't forecasted what the weather is going to be like, but I assume at this time of the year it's going to be good at Ellis Park. And yeah, the running rugby that we're going to see. You talk about Grant Williams and Feinberg, Ngonzulu. Anytime Ngonzulu's been able to play, he is showing the willingness to attack. And with Grant Williams, how good he is around sniping, and if they can get that breakdown area, which they're going to be, to be honest, that breakdown area will be so important for both teams. And I think the first 20 minutes we're going to see a car crash of all of them on both sides trying to be able to suit their dominance. So yeah, I'm just really excited. I think there's not many kind of selections that we probably think is it a surprise? I'd have to think maybe Fabian Holland. We did touch around that was always going to be the contentious, I guess, around like who was going to be the locks because Sam Darius played well, Paddy Tupolo's played well, Josh Lord has had a great start to the season, and obviously Fabian Holland as well, with Tupo Vati being at 6. That's probably the only talking point. But even within saying that, Jip, you do look at Fabian Holland and Josh Lord, like it is going to be a very tall line out. If you talk around defensive line and even our line out as well, along with Tupo Vati, it's a very formidable locking stocks in terms of height and I guess athleticism with Josh Lord, Tupo Vati, and Fabian Holland as well.
Yeah, and I think Holland's superpower as to why he's been selected. So because you can't look at any other locks that they haven't earned the right to be selected, but it's his defensive line out work. I always go back to when they were down to 13, Blues 5 metres out from the line, and he stole that line out, and the Highlanders managed to win that game. You saw it the other day. He pinched a couple. So like that's an area, if we can pressure, that's the Springboks' strength. So we've selected two guys, that are our tallest locks, but also one that specialises in that defensive movement and reading lineouts. I saw on our post this morning, someone actually asked a good question. I don't know if he speaks Afrikaans, but he might be able to understand a few things while he's out there. But I'm not sure about that. But yeah, I think as well, you know what it's like when you take risks in terms of bench. If we lose a Tupo Vati or a Fabian Holland or a Josh Lord or two of them, she could be. When we've seen like a 6-2 in Super Rugby and you lose a couple of backs and a 9, and all of a sudden you got forwards playing on the wing. I think we saw it for the Sharks or Bulls? Sharks. Yeah. So, I mean, but if we don't, and as I said before, like feeling South Africa going to fight fire with fire, Anton Segner and Peter Lakai with no lock reserve, and with the injury concerns in the backs, it could be a masterstroke as well in terms of that up-tempo game in that last 20.
Yeah, it's interesting. I did wonder a little bit about the George Bauer selection. I wasn't expecting that, thinking about the impact that Namir could make in the last 20.
I think Dave really did touch on, or there was maybe a little bit of an injury, him coming off the last game. So I think they were just maybe a little. Well, I could be wrong, but I think that's what I did hear around with what I did here. So whether that was also with the experience with with George Bauer coming on, but I think there was maybe a little bit of an injury there, Ross.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough, fair enough. Now we've got a question come through. The All Blacks are $2.60. The odds for the Springboks is 145. Jipper, do you think that that is on the money? It's quite a wide margin there.
Um, I just think everyone just expects it not to be. Everyone just expects it to be a Springboks win. I think Ellis Park, Highveld, I think it's probably a bit wide, but I mean, look what hat I'm wearing. So it's probably not the most unbiased opinion. But yeah, I don't mind the underdog status. I think it's a great place to be. All the pressure and expectation is on the Springboks. So often we've had that in our history, and it's a hard thing to handle. And they've made some bold selections themselves, and you get behind, bit of pressure, bulls start dropping. That $1.46, I'm sure, can get to $3 pretty quickly. Gamble responsibly, of course.
It is so the hype is so huge. Social media makes a difference now, where you can be constantly immersed in this thing. There are so many creators, so many podcasts, so many television shows. There's so much more going on now around the game than there used to be back in 1996. There's something different about this because of it, and it's quite we're 2 days out and the nerves are kind of building, kind of thing. There's a lot going on there, Brenna, and it's hard to avoid.
Well, I feel like the hype's just been for so long, right? We touched around it for even last year, talking about this was going to happen. We got through the June series, and obviously with a new coaching group coming in and installing a pretty awesome attack shape, and now getting through the URC games and kind of feeling what it is to be like in South Africa for the players, we're kind of just ready. I'm just ready for this first test match to be able to see how we actually go. Are we able to be able to attack with this optimism and being able to do it under pressure? I guess that's the challenge that I am seeing, that I want to see. And then also, if we don't get that, have we been able to make adjustments with what I've probably seen in the first 6 games, where I think we have, to be able to go to a contestable game and go to some other areas if we're not getting that. So I'm just excited, more so for a Kiwi fan, if we can do that. And then also going up against the world champs. They should have confidence around everything that they've been doing for the last few years. They're the best team in the world. They've won in so many areas, in so many ways, in different conditions, in different ways, in different competitions. And so, for me, it's been able to see, can we do it? And we get the first opportunity to see that at Ellis Park, in front of a full packed Ellis Park. And I can only imagine the hostility that's going to be coming for the All Blacks, and what an exciting opportunity that'll be for those boys to run out for that first test match.
Yeah, yeah. Some of the young guys, some of those guys like Anton Segner, who's obviously come into this team, Jipper, to play a very particular role, and to make an impact in those last 20 minutes. I mean, he's probably never seen anything quite like this.
No, he definitely wouldn't have. Maybe watching his favourite football side in the crowd, being the one screaming. But no, he wouldn't have. But we sat with Anton for a good hour a few months ago, Ross, and I think this is where he wants to be. I just get the feeling that the bigger the occasion, the hungrier and the more he starts to salivate. And I think as a player, there's the hype and there's the atmosphere, but once you take that first knock, it all disappears, and you almost go into an autopilot situation. It's like, do your job, and you're away. So I think it's critical he gets an early positive action, and then I think he'll be away from there.
And I can tell you what, like through even the guys that haven't experienced it, and again, this is a different, this isn't international footy, but when we played the Lions in 2017, very hostile crowd. You talk about it was a full packed sea of red. It's going to be a sea of green. That's going to be at Ellis Park. But as a player, you know as well, those big occasions, those big games, going through Vodacom, the big building, and going through, it gets smaller and smaller as you get to the stadium. You're hearing all the fans, you're hearing them being able to throw things at you, and when you get out of that bus, they're obviously booing you. But as a competitor, you just love being in those games and those situations. So like, even though that you are on the field, I think it's your first touch, it's your first involvement, but you're almost just ready, and you almost, I felt it was more of like, okay, cool, can we go out there and shut them up? Really, it's been able to say it's the only 23 that are going to be on the field. We're going up against a sea of green or sea of red, and you've got maybe pockets of little All Blacks fans or supporters that are going to be there, but I think it just goes up even more. Your competitiveness and wanting to actually win away from home.
Yeah, it's like a challenge. Like if you look at the Michael
Mm,
Jordan documentary where he created these challenges in his head, like that player hates me and that player said this about me. Like when someone openly dislikes you as a competitor, you're like, bring it on. Whereas,
yeah.
like, this is no disrespect to any other nation, but like if you use Scotland, for example, like they're just such nice people the week of a test match and you're like, oh god, you're just too nice, Whereas you're not going to get that here. Like everyone in South Africa just wants to take you down, and that
Yeah.
is almost like bring it on. Like you actually, it's I was going to say a swear word, but like it's a lot easier to zone in and get your job done.
Mm.
Hey, everyone out there who's just making comments. I can hear that and see that we've got some issues with some audio. Apparently, our echo is right up. So I'm not 100% sure what we can do about it. So we're just going to have to carry on and appreciate your patience for just sticking with us while we try to figure it out and get it done. So, it might just be the way it is through this until the end. We'll figure it out for next time. But yeah. When we look at the South African side of things, though, we've got a team full of world championship winners, a team that Rassi has really lent on, maybe apart from Thomas Dutoy, the people that you would have expected to be there all the time, Brenner. It's a team that knows how to get it done in big situations. But at the same time, there's something about what's being said this week from a New Zealand perspective that makes you think, oh, they're thinking about us.
Well, I think the first thing that I thought, what I loved about it, was that Rusty naming the team on the Thursday. I think we've been pretty accustomed to him being able to come out on a Monday or even on a Sunday after a game to be able to get I guess to name his team. And I think even hearing Felix Jones and hearing Jaco Piper having maybe a half an hour interview around some things that they were talking about or seeing. So yeah, it's been some great gamesmanship, I think, from Rusty and the Springboks. And I even think to Dave Rennie's point as well, he's been very cool, calm, and kind of on the back foot, just been able to defend it down very nicely. So I think both coaches have been able to use the media in a great way. And but I do look at kind of the South African team. It's a pretty, I think, there's not many surprises apart from obviously Sia Khaleesi probably not being available and picking De Villiers there. But it's a very experienced side that have played a lot of games together, and I guess they'll take confidence in knowing that they've played a lot of rugby together. I think the only thing that I would think about if you're a Springboks is that they haven't played a lot of game time together. You talk around the July series that they used a lot of that to be able to bring in the young guys through the URC and not so experienced. So they haven't played a lot of football, but thinking around with Stephen Kitsop when we did catch up with him, behind the scenes, they were playing scenario games with what we kind of heard in training. So I guess that conditioning won't be a problem considering that they've done that for the last couple of weeks. So yeah, an exciting challenge for us to be able to go against. I see this team as the world champion team. This is their best on paper. And, that shows a respect to the All Blacks, I believe, as well, to be able to see that Rusty has picked his best, I believe, his best 23 and especially his best 15.
I reckon kind of green, though 9 and 10, they've only played one game together. It's against Georgia, which they won like 55-10. I was surprised at the Williams selection. Not that I just assumed Ronak, maybe he played himself out of the team against RG. I'm not sure, but they've literally played one game together at test match level.
Yeah, well, I guess in terms of that, I definitely think maybe the experience, I think that's a valid point, Chip. But I just think with Grant Williams, and to your point, with probably how Ryan and his box kicks, and I guess his execution wasn't where it probably is against Argentina. But look, I think for me personally, as a 9 and Grant Williams, I think he's very, very good at the box kick. He's shown that in other test matches, even though he has been injured. I think Sasha has been injured as well. So I actually feel a little bit more worried that that Grant Williams and Sasha are together. With what you touched on, Jippo, I think Grant is very good in and around sniping, very similar to a Cam Roygaard, very fast and electric when he gets his opportunity. And I think Sasha's one of the best running tens in the world. So having those two alongside with, I think they can game manage very, very well with their kicking games. I think it actually poses a lot more questions. And that's not to say because
Yeah.
Reinach is actually very, very good. Reinach is very good in that spot, but I just think Grant Williams offers a lot
Oh,
on the attacking side.
that's like, as I said before, he's plus 14. It's not about his style. My point is I've played one test, and this is the biggest test. Like, if I'm just thinking, like, man, like one drop ball or one miscommunication early, if the All Blacks, like, if I was the All Blacks, I'd be looking at that and saying, like, let's hunt these guys. Let's try and make them feel like they haven't played together. Do you know what I mean? I think the safe play was Reinach, especially as well. Like Williams' impact off the pine, he is good at sniping, especially when people are tired. He's not going to get the gaps in and around the breakdown that
Mm.
he's probably used to. I just I didn't see that one coming.
I think also as well, if you do want to, if they do want to play this running rugby jip, being able to do that at the start and giving Grant the opportunity to do that, and then if it does go south a little bit, you can bring a Cobus Reinach on with that experience, right? And going back to if they want to change their game plan or they want to be able to continue it a little bit more on the attacking side of it. But yeah, definitely valid point. But I think, yeah, for me, I see that selection as around like they are going to be able to use his skill set, and I think with Sasha as well, and having that Cobus Reinach, I think is a safety net. I reckon in the last 20 maybe.
We, I think the thing is that, when you look at that halves combination, the talent there is if the Boks can get a roll on, even if they haven't played a lot together, between the two of them, the talent, the ability to take a whole, just the attacking mindset that they've got, that it is for a hell of a combo if they get on top.
Well, if you look at both squads, you look at both at Grant Williams and Sasha Feinberg Umgonzulu, and you look at Cam Roygaard and you look at Ruben Love. All similar around ages, all similar around probably being the next crop for the next 4 or 5 years for both teams and running the cutter for both of them. So I think this is more so just I think maybe a little bit of an introduction. I think to what we're going to be able to maybe be seeing in the foreseeable future with the Springboks and the All Blacks. So I think both of them. I look at probably both pairings has been able to probably the biggest test matches of all of them, considering they've only been they're not green, but relatively new to the international stage and such a big occasion um, and not been a World Cup semi final or final. I really am looking forward to seeing how these two combos can, I guess, go in the first test match.
It's got Tony Brown written all over it for me. Like I just think you're going to see a lot of innovation on attack. I think you can expect quick taps, you can expect quick throw-ins, you can expect four-man variations, and I think it's going to be hellishly up tempo and skill set in terms of the attack. I mean, the All Blacks defence has been superb. I think since arriving in Africa, it's just got better and better. But this, I get the sense that it's it's about how you recover is probably going to be more important than how you meet in the game line. Like I don't think it's going to be the bully boy tactics. There may be some of that coming out of the exit zone, but I think you can expect tips, you can expect bombs, you can expect utilization from pod to pod. I get the sense that they're going to have a red hot crack, and then if it doesn't go to plan, they know they can revert to type, and that's the way their bench is sort of structured to me. Is like, okay, if the cat's out of the bag and it doesn't work, well, we can revert to type and we can go back to the contestables and we can still win the test match. And I think that first 20 is going to be hectic.
I think that's a really great point, Jip. And I think because if they want to go helter skelter and they get what they want out of it, great. Probably see scenes of what we saw in Wellington, right? When they were able to score a lot of points. If they don't feel like they can get it, they can always revert back to that. And I guess that's the confidence that group should have as South Africans is they've done it. They've been able to adjust midway through a game and go back to the contestable games, go back to their set piece and been able to build momentum that way. I guess the question for us as All Blacks, if we don't get that attacking game line, if we don't get the passes that stick, Has this group shown enough in the six games that they've been together? Can they go to a contestable game like they would with the Springboks, or are they just going to continue to keep this all-out attack rugby and fall on their sword in that way? So, I guess that's an interesting thing that I'm looking forward to seeing, Chipper. If we don't get what we wanted, have we shown enough in adjusting, maybe going to a kicking game similar to what the Springboks would do, and would we pull back and not reverting back to? Because we haven't seen that in the first six games. Look at France as an example.
Yeah, I think it would be unfair to say that it's just at all costs. I do think they've shown an amazing ability of reading the pitches. Like if the kick's on, they're going to kick. I think Cam Roigard, you've said to me, I I struggle to notice the difference around box kicks from my rugby eye as a front rower, but you've said to me he can get height. He gets the height,
Yep.
which puts you in the contest. So I think if the picture presents, the All Blacks do have the ability, but I don't think they'll go away from attack at all costs. I think they'll like the look of the team. If South Africa want to play at pace, they're looking for turnover ball. They're looking for that click attack. They're looking for 20 seconds. So, yeah, it's man. Honestly, I feel for the lungs for both sides. Like it's just,
Yep.
it is. Maybe I'm hyping up too much, and it'll be a 6-3 stoush. But it looks set for an absolute doozy. It looks set to be fitting for literally what feels like a year of hype.
And it's not just hype here. Like you look at the UK channels, you've got Jim Hamilton and you've got, For the Love of Rugby and all of them there. Everyone is into this. Like the rugby world is watching because these two teams are about to go.
Well, it's like, and if you do think about it, a Lions tour probably is the same, right? In terms of us probably tuning in to be able to see a Lions tour. But I think for us and having this opportunity to play 4 games against the Springboks, it's 1v2 in the world as well. There's that hype as well, and the fact that it's just not a one-off, it's not a quarter-final, it's not a semi-final, it's not a final, it's a 4-match test series of number 1 and 2 going against each other. And this is the first test match at Ellis Park, but post this, what's the adjustment that's going to be made? Because it's very unforeign that you get the chance to be able to play a team 2 times around, let alone 4. So this is probably going to be forecasted for us more moving forward post this Ellis Park test. But I just can't wait to see after this is finished what the adjustments the coaches are going to be able to do when you're playing someone 4 times in a row.
Yeah, especially when you got through those first 3 and you're 2-1 up and you've been beaten up, and then Jippy, you've jumped on a plane to go all the way over the other side of the world to get up again that following week. That's an ask.
Nah, you shouldn't be in the All Blacks or Springboks if that's your mindset. I think you jump on that plane ready to rock and roll. That's just, mate, this is what you dedicate your life at 12, 13 years of age to say, this is where I want to play. Like, why waste all that sacrifice to be thinking like that? I just don't believe at 2-1, man, it would be either way. You're getting on that plane, you're going to Baltimore, and you're saying, America, if you can't get behind this test match, then I don't think we're going to crack it.
Yeah, look, I think when we look at these two teams, Jip, there's a few things that we've had come through with the questions. One question that we've had come through is around how does this All Blacks team recover from a yellow card, from a red card? The maturity in the team, the experience in the team. If they get something like that in a test against the Springboks in South Africa, do they have the capability to get through?
Look, I think there's a lot of chat about I hope it doesn't come to that. And I think the only way we'll see cards is if you get a tackle wrong. I get the feeling there's a little bit of it's just like there's been so much hype on these refs that I think the whistle might be parked a bit and let the rugby do the talking. So I think the only way they'll get themselves into trouble is not dipping and getting a shoulder to the head. Can they survive it? Yeah. Like, I think history shows, like, it's a weird thing, a card. Like, Bryn, like, we were in a number of teams together where we got cards, and we almost started playing better. It's just the most bizarre thing. I think if you get 2, remember just before the World Cup when we played them at Twickenham, and it was just an onslaught? I think the game could be gone if if the refs are pinging the breakdown and stuff and one goes for that and then you get a shoulder to the head and you're down to 13, I don't know how you survive at Ellis Park in that situation, but I definitely think you can survive one.
Yeah, and I think if you do think around the red card rule now, it's only 20 minutes. I'm pretty sure I'm sure that's going to be the rule for 20 minutes. So I think if that's done early doors, you'd have to think that there are adjustments and I guess in your game plan to be able to hold on for 20 minutes. Now it's not going to be ideal, and if you do probably look at the World Cup final when Sam Cane got red carded very early doors, it made it very very difficult for us to be able to try and win that Test match. But yeah, to be honest, it's going to be hard
That's a
enough
good
to beat the
point
South
though, Bryn.
Africans.
That was a close
Yeah,
World Cup final. And there was what, how long? 60 minutes down to 14 men?
yeah,
Do you see what I mean? Like,
yeah.
I just, sometimes it's a weird thing, a card. It's like, it just shows you how much sport is mental. Like
Mm,
it's like, all right, we need to leave the breakdown. We need to have numbers on feet. And we just need to keep
yeah.
turning up for each other and just chip away, and keep ourselves in the contest until the last 10 minutes.
Yeah, and I think, to be honest, we talk around the riffing, and there's obviously been a lot of talk about maybe trying to set a trend going into a test match from both parties, more so maybe Rusty with having Jakob Piper have a half an hour interview around it, which was entertaining to watch. But I think the TMO is going to play a big part, and I hope it doesn't play a big part because I think the ref can get it right. I think, to your point, Jip, you'd have to think maybe because this is such a big occasion, this is going to be such a great game, and you want the players to do the talking, that I think he might be, holding that whistle back a bit. But the TMO, I think, plays a big part. So hopefully, we don't come here sitting on Monday and seeing that it has been the TMO that's come in 3 or 4 times.
Yeah, I agree. But man, it's got to be one of your key priorities as a player is to not bring him in. Like
Yes.
this has to be the most clinical performance. The side that wins will be the most, so obvious, such a stupid thing to say, but like, you just got to be on, like that saying of like on your toes, like you just can't switch
Yep.
off. Like the moment you switch off is the moment you could make a mistake in a clean out. You've also got to be cool and calm. Like I know the All Blacks are really wanting to like still, when you're sort of the underdog physically and you're like, right, we're going to take it to them, and you can just fly out of the gun or fly out of the cannon, and you just get your timing wrong and you clean out and you hit a head or something, like you you've got to make sure you're accurate with the brutality. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
the expectation is the Springboks are going to dominate. Well, we've got to make sure that we're cool, calm, and we're not trying to set the tone. Like allow those opportunities where there is a rib. Don't go searching for it. When you're on an inside clean, once the rib presents itself, bang. But don't aimlessly go in there thinking I'm just gonna, because a head might present itself. And
Yep.
then and you're already committed. You've lost your feet about 5 meters back and you're gone. So I think that's going to be the big challenge in dealing with the emotions. Now it's similar to what, like not to compare it, but like similar to what you've got on your hands tomorrow, Brenner. Like I know there's always a lot of emotion in the Battle of the Bridge, and one of the biggest downfalls for the side that loses is the inaccuracy through
Mm.
the emotion of 94 and all the history. Like we're talking about 96 and Fitzy, and it's like the maturity to balance that will dictate whether the refs play a role.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd imagine emotion across the board in every player will be relatively equal, right? I mean, it's such a leveler in that this contest means so much to both teams. What did we have Rashi say to us about what Uli Schmidt said? That there are two kinds of Springboks. There's ones who've played New Zealand and there's ones who haven't.
Hmm.
And that kind of that mindset in South Africa, combined with, I suppose, the fact that New Zealand has to prove itself, makes it so
Uh,
so mouthwatering.
yeah, and I think the coaching staff's done a great job before they left. Like they got out to the communities and they've really said we want to be New Zealand's team. And I do get the sense like there's, I don't know what our population is, but 5.5 million, whatever. Like I get the sense like you go down the streets. I was watching something on Crowd Goes Wild, and there's Kiwis backing Kiwis. It's
Mm.
quite a cool thing. We've been pretty hard on our All Blacks publicly for a while now, But every Kiwi, nah, we got this, we're going to win. And it's been a real change. And I think it's the way the Neil Barnes factor, there's the Dave Rennie factor. There's actually not a lot of emotion. You're either good enough to be selected or you're not. This is the reason why you're not. I think the country's really bought into that. And I feel like the team has brought into the fact that they're representing a nation as well. South Africa's superpower is the fact that they have, I suppose, the understanding, or Rusty is really good at giving the understanding of what South Africa is. And South Africa is much bigger than any player. And the role that they play in providing South Africa joy is not life or death, but that greater, higher purpose is extremely high. I feel like New Zealand and the All Blacks coaching group and the players have really bought into that narrative as well, and they feel that higher purpose. So I agree with you, Ross. I think there's, normally I'd say no, you sort of feel that higher purpose is something that's Rusty's specialty. I get the feeling that we're going to be able to match that. And I love how the countries come with them. It's just so cool to see. And I don't know if it's creative editing or not, but everywhere you go, people seem to be, Kiwis are backing Kiwis, and I like that. That makes me feel good about our country.
Yeah, and I think, Chipper, as well, it's the way that we're playing, right?
100%.
We've talked around a lot. Optimism's been a massive word being used in New Zealand, but it's because we've gone back to, it seems like we've gone back to the DNA of holding on to the ball and want to use our flair and X factor. So that's what I've really enjoyed, I think, in this tenure with Dave Rennie, and that's the messaging that's been coming out through that group, and I think also the way that they have been playing. So, and again, this comes back to what I'm really, really interested in. Can't wait to watch is, can we do this under pressure, and with what the Springboks are going to bring to us. So, yeah, we touched a lot on it probably the last year around even being on with our podcasts around going back to what our DNA is, and so we've talked around, would rather not to say that we want to lose, but going out on our shield playing the New Zealand way. And I'd be much more happy if we lose a series playing the way that we are playing and throwing the kitchen sink in terms of what we are and our DNA is against the best team in the world. So time will tell if we can be able to win a series, but I think it gives us the best chance of the way that we are playing, that the South Africans would be a little bit nervous, considering if we can get it right, it can be really dangerous for them.
We've got to hold our nerve though. If it goes wrong in the first 20, we've got to keep throwing punches. That's the one thing I admired about the Hurricanes and their run is even when they got behind, I think about, was it the quarterfinal? I've never seen a man drink more water than you, Bryn Hall. Seriously, it is incredible. You must just be 99% water.
It's gone.
It's
all gone.
It's unbelievable. Anyway, I here I am. No one probably drinks more coffee than me, so we've both got you've got a healthier addiction. But I think that's the key. Was it the quarterfinal? I can't remember how it works. But the Blues sort of were close at halftime. It was the semi-final. And the Hurricanes had a lot of turnovers. They still went into the head at the break, and they just came out still pulling trigger. I want to see that, because it could happen, man. We could get 21 points down, and it's easy to happen at Ellis Park. But we've got to just, that'll be the true test. If I'm with you. I hope we go out swinging, even if it ends up 50-10. I'd rather see us keep pulling trigger and believing in what we're about than go into a reserved nature and just say, let's make it close.
They're going to swing. They're going to swing, Chipper.
Yeah. Oh no, I know, but it's the old rope-a-dope, man. You could be on you could be Muhammad Ali, and you could be just getting absolutely belted. And that scoreboard pressure, it's one thing to say you're going to swing until you're put there. Ruben Love, he's real, going real well at 10. But you're gonna need them to just have that attitude. It's man, we can fight our way out of it, and you're gonna have to. And they're just the cauldron and stuff, all that stuff. As I said before, you can become automated, but that noise can reappear if you start questioning things. Yeah. So you want to make sure you don't hear the noise. And I think the moment you hear the noise, you as the leaders, you've got to bring the group in and just say, let's embrace it. Yep. This is where we want to be. We knew this is the case, like all those little mini battles in between this 80 minutes where the game can be won or lost is going to be just so entertaining.
And I think
what I
one
like.
thing, sorry, Ross, I
Go on.
think one thing just around our fullback, one probably thing we haven't touched on is the set piece and how important that is going to be on the weekend. And I just think with the group that we have selected, and I think even our bench with the Peter Larkai and Anton Segner coming on along with our tighties, tight props and hooker, you know, I think set piece wise, we've got enough there to be able to hold that and withstand it, especially around the line out and the line out more. I think we've made a lot of improvements there post the Stormers, and it's going to be an area that they are going to come through the front door. But I like the selections of us being able to disrupt. I think firstly in the line out, and I think scrum as well. I think there's enough there. I think with that group that's selected with De Groot, Taylor, and Lomax, very experienced in and around that. And I think with the scrum job, it is an 8, but it seems like there is a lot of power there. There's a lot of size to be able to give this, I guess, a 1-2 punch to try and take on the South African scrum, which is going to be so important for this All Blacks to get the result as well.
Yeah, look, I definitely think we've got the platform at scrum time and line out, but I think we'll avoid it. I think we're like, based on Rene's interview, I think, look for quick throws. If I was South Africa, rather than trying to get an extra, 20 metres because of the hive out and kick, but it's caught, without someone touching it, I'd put it into the stands. We're gonna try and avoid it. I think they need to try and find a way to take themselves there. Not saying that. We've lost our host. What are we gonna do here, brother?
I don't know,
gosh.
mate. Keep talking.
Yeah,
Keep talking.
Oh, he's back. Oh,
He's back.
thank God.
Shit, don't do that, Ross.
Thank God.
Don't do that to us.
Truth.
We're nothing without you, mate.
Sorry, guys. Sorry,
but
I was
yeah.
hearing double in my ears, so I had to try to go out and go back in.
Oh, don't worry, I get that every day. But yeah, I just think all those sorts of little tactics, I think will be key. And I think our tactics should be not go there. Like, this is what I mean about the mental thing. Is like, and we're all guilty of it as players. Like you've got that gladiator mindset. Is like, oh, you're not going to tell me I'm not better than you at scrummaging. It's like, who cares? Like, don't play into that. Like, don't try and go, oh, we're going to prove a point. Like, stick to the plan, stick to the way that I've heard Rennie and the coaches talk. Is like, when we get there, yeah, we'll compete, but we're not going to take it there. It's just stupid.
Yeah, it does make a lot of sense. But I mean, when you look at it, and if you look at the people who are in the front row and you look at the people in at lock, do you think that the All Blacks can get parity? Do you think that on a scrum by scrum basis? I know the nature of scrums is that sometimes the hit is right or sometimes the hit's not right, and a good or bad scrum is more about how often you do it well consistently. But
yes, but I think the biggest thing when it comes to scrums, Ross, and it's just history will always say it. The ref has a fixed view before the game. There's just no way about it. He is going to be looking at the All Blacks because they are the perceived weaker scrum. It always happens. So if it goes down early, his eyes will be there. And I'm not saying it's just human nature. Like, the expectation is the Springboks. So it's those first 1 or 2 will dictate the 80 minutes. Like, we have to stay up. We have to keep that scrum up. If it goes down, we're in trouble. And it might not even be the All Blacks' problem, but the perception is it will be. So, closing that gap initially and almost locking out and getting parity, not trying to over, because what happens in a scrum is like, when you try to overwork and then you might get a little opening, sometimes like Owen Franks was the best at this, man. Like, he would let you get that opening and you'd be extended for a short period of time and he'd go, yeah, thanks. So it's about keeping 16 feet on the deck and not like overextending. You're almost just keeping your knees underneath you and forcing the ref to say use it. If it's their ball, and if it's our ball, quick hook and gone in those first fews. If you want to challenge them, do it later in the game. If you want to have an ego off, later in the game. But the All Black scrum will be watched in those first 2 or 3, and that will dictate their ability to have parity and or gain dominance.
I think, Ross, I think the important thing is that on South Africa's ball, that's where probably the most pressure will be on us. Are we able to withstand that pressure? I think to Chip's point, when we have the ball, we actually have the ability to be able to get the ball in and out and take away their superpower. That Channel 1 being able to get the ball in and out, Royga being able to get the ball straight away, or even Artie Severe getting off the back of the scrum and being able to take away their strength. So, to your question, we definitely can get parity in and around the scrum because we can dictate when we want to take that ball out. If we've got a good shove, by all means, we get a really good shove and we feel that current going forward and we can be able to get a penalty, then great. But I just think it's more so, I think, for when the South Africans have their ball, I think the All Blacks will know as a forward pack they're going to have to grit down their teeth knowing that it might be a long sequence and then scrumming for a penalty.
I reckon I just thought then, like that Irish try where Artie went off the back, I'd love to see them do that early because what you're trying to do is create hesitation. And
Mm.
what happens with the Springboks, why they're so strong scrum wise, is they all scrum, all 8 of them. They're not looking to defend, they're not looking to hit the first ruck, they're scrumming. So I think a quick hook, Artie getting outside the loosies, they're on notice then. Do that early,
Yeah.
then you're not going to have to have as much pressure on a channel 1 because it can get caught.
Mm.
So I'd love to see that early. If the positioning in the field's right, trying to get Artie at Feinberg and Ngomazulu. I wouldn't run at Delando. I'd try and find Sasha somewhere else.
Jipper, do you just want to explain to maybe if people don't know what a Channel 1 is?
So basically it goes between the loose head prop's feet. Channel 2 goes between the hooker's feet. So channel 2 is when you're dominant. You can almost have the ball, it touches the hooker's foot and you're going to walk over it. You can sort of, halfbacks are crafty. They can generate enough momentum. It gets back to 8 pretty quickly. But whereas channel 1 is you're literally lifting your right leg up and hooking quickly between the loose heads prop. And when I say quickly, you're normally doing channel 1 because you're under the pump and you've got to get that foot back down. So you've got 16 pistons, because that's what the Saffers look for as soon as that hooker's foot comes up. And 9s won't put it in. If they sense you're about to get absolutely folded, they'll find some reason not to get that ball in. But refs will be looking at the All Blacks again. If Cam doesn't put it in and they're under pressure, it'll be a free kick. All those little things early on will be so crucial.
Yeah.
What about at the breakdown? There's obviously going to be a massive battle there. De Villiers coming in, who's also a breakdown specialist who seems to be very, very good at getting ruck ball and turnovers. Where do you see how these two teams are set up? And who could be the team that comes out on top for breakdown dominance?
All in the carry. All in the person with the ball. If you have a weak carry, if you fall on your back, if you get chop tackled, you haven't done your job. Cleaners are important at the breakdown, but man, like the carry will dictate a lot of it. I think you can expect the All Blacks to show a lot of that picking, on the edge or in the middle, trying to tighten the defence to then get Damian McKenzie and against an unset defensive line that can't bring rush line speed. But your personal responsibility as a player is go between bodies. Try and get a dent. Where it can get dangerous and where we've got to get the balance right is when you get a tip pass as a forward and you get that bend through, and then you get tackled, say, 3 or 4 meters behind the gain line. 9s are great at this now, man. Like 9s get a lot of turnovers when those tip passes go through because if you get that tip pass, you can't get checked. If you get checked, you're the cleaner. The guy passing is supposed to clean. If you're not there, and the inside guy, you actually train defensively to block those two. So it's. I think it's going to, like, from what I've seen, our offloads are down. I think when there's going to be tight carries and when turnovers are presented, it's normally in the tight stuff. I just haven't seen us try and risk anything there. It's just strong carry, strong clean. Get away from that and get too creative. That's when you'll put yourself in trouble. Or it creates an opportunity. It's just risk versus reward.
The stats from those games against the Stormers, then the Sharks and the Bulls showed that the All Blacks, while they scored more points and appeared to go more wide more often in those second 2 games, actually the stats suggest that the All Blacks spent more time getting over the gain line closer to the ruck and spent less time out wide. It's just that when they went wide, they executed well because they had executed well closer to the ruck beforehand, Bryn. So there's kind of a misnomer about this going wide thing. You got to earn it.
But
Yeah, and I
oh,
think the thing that like Dave Rennie has talked about, I can't remember what game it was where we had multiple opportunities out wide, but we actually didn't go through them. He just said one more ruck being able to go through them. So like I think with the Dave Rennie team, the breakdown has always been so massive around being able to then attack off that. So I don't think that changes. And look, we have seen a lot more offloads, I think, against these URC teams, and I think we're just probably not going to get the same numbers because I think we're just going to be up against a lot more quality in terms of the tackle area and the 2v1 area. But we are going to have to watch ourselves because I think De Villiers is probably talked around, probably a better jackler than Quagga Smith. That's what I've been hearing over in South Africa, who Quagga Smith is probably one of the best in the world. So, and you've got obviously Malcolm Marks, who's very good in and around that space. You've got Jasper Visa, that's very good. You've got Marco van Staden, who is going to come on at some point, and he's very good in and around the breakdown area. So I think for this All Black team, yes, the offloads are going to be on, but I think to the point of what Jip is saying, your A and C, sorry, if there's three people here with A, B, and C, and B ball carrying with some good footwork and a tip ball, this guy's going to be really important to race into that space. And another good way, I think, Jip, from other teams that I've been in the past, when you have got good jacklers, if you do run at them, you take them out of the game. So whether the All Blacks have got a plan in place to be able to try run at these jacklers, now whether that's going to be manufactured in some maybe the first three phases or scrum strikes to be able to do that, that is a solution to be able to try and take them out of the game. But there's just so many threats, and we haven't even talked around the outsides, around Colby and Willemse being very good over the ball. So the breakdown area and 1 to 15, I think, if you're there in that place, whether you're a halfback or a 10, you've just got to make sure you get that clean because everybody on the field, I guess, for that Springboks team can get jackals at any point in the game.
I think as well, like Ross, the reason that worked is because you're making little chinks, and all they're doing is waiting for the pitch to present that the Irish defence was on the back foot and tightening. So the Springboks are going to bring rush D. If you keep dinking around the breakdown and you're patient, and that, if they don't tighten, well, you'll go through. So you eventually tighten, and then it's like once Bryn or like Nines call for it, you just get out of there. And the other thing that we did really well is our wingers coming in and around and making little dents. The explosive power from the wingers being able to sort of slice in and around that heart defence, and defenders are going backwards. It's hard to go backwards, set, and then bring rush line. Then you got Damien McKenzie and stuff. It's all designed to get to the width, but they were way more patient because you have to be patient. They're going to have to be patient because the Springboks will be able to absorb a lot of that and meet you at the game line and maybe sometimes drive you back into the ruck that was just formed. But then you just start again until you see that back pedaling and you've got that dent, then you've got to let it fly, and that's when you'll find the space on the edge. And if you don't, I think they're not going to waste energy and they'll go to the air.
Yeah. Everyone in the comment section, there's a lot of fire there. Let's keep it civil, eh? Like, this is a rugby game. We love this rugby game. Let's be respectful about each other. It's getting a little bit out of control in here. But look, that's what they're going to get at Ellis Park, maybe. I don't know. But
that's what they're getting. Doesn't matter. That's what we. Yeah.
It's people care, man. People's care.
Yeah.
It's it matters. But I agree, it is a rugby game. Nothing's personal against the other country.
Yeah. And as much I think as can get lost in some of these things when we're debating who's better at what and who's, what different skill sets are, and are people slowing down the ball? All of that. It's a rugby conversation. It's not a people conversation. It's a rugby conversation. So yeah, never mind. Okay, guys. Before we wrap up, what is the biggest thing, Brendan, you first, that you are looking forward to in this game come Sunday morning?
Oh, I think we've touched on it. I think the attacking way and brand of rugby that we are playing, can it be done under massive pressure? Because I think we're not going to get the lightning quick ball that we've seen probably in the French game or even in a lot of that July series and even the URC. So I'm interested to see, are we able to do that? Are we able to be able to get our depth right? Are we going to be able to have, if we have 3 or 4 shots on the face play shape, can we get the right option or can we execute under pressure? So that's definitely one thing that I'm really looking forward to is our DNA. Can we stick it in high pressure situations? And I think just one more thing as well is aerially. Are we able to adjust and being able to take the ball? with what's coming. I think, with the team that has been selected, we have touched on around Grant Williams and Feinberg and Gonzulu, the running ability that they do have. But I think that aerial game, with kind of the kryptonite that I've seen in probably the last 2 years, that we haven't been able to win that massively, and we've had a lot of trouble in that in the past. Are we going to be able to nullify that if it is coming our way? So those are probably the 2 areas that I'm looking forward to, Ross. Our attacking brand of DNA, and I think being able to see how well we go in there and winning the scraps and being able to do that.
I think I'm just most intrigued in the momentum swings and how each team absorbs that. Because there's going to be dominance by both at some stage.
Yep.
And I suppose it's what I'm going to be fascinated with is who has the ability to grab it back quicker. And I just think you're going to see that throughout the whole 80. And I think the most exciting thing is there's going to be points scored. She is going to be an absolute humdinger. I mean, it's 26 degrees, 27 degrees, afternoon kickoff. Oof.
Well, it's going to be an absolute rip snorter. Thank you for joining us on our live. We're looking forward to this game on the weekend. We'll be together watching this game and seeing the All Blacks maybe going up 1-0. Eh?
Come on, the All Blacks. Come on.
Righto. Okay, thank you, everyone. We'll catch you